stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Good thing about doing comedy in Russia, you have captured audience.
You're stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Comedy History 101.
Hi, does this look good to you?
This is television of the future. And here's a sneak preview of the new shows you'll see on Tunnel Vision, 1985.
Hey, Tunnel Vision. So, Scott, what do we just hear/see a clip of?
Well, that was a bit of a trailer and some other previews and coming attractions that play on the screen in the anthology film Tunnel Vision, a satirical 1976 comedy.
Yeah, and continuing our our podcast series on the road to Saturday Night Live. That, once again, was, as Scott mentioned, Tunnel Vision, and you've tuned into another episode of
Comedy History 101.
where we school you in comedy. I, of course, and Harmon Leon. With me, of course, Scott Kalanico. How are you, Scott?
I am coming to you from the future, 1985, Harmon.
Yeah, so
just like Tunnel Vision.
So again, we got, like where we dropped off last episode was we covered the movie Groove Tube, which was a series of a satirical take of television and television commercials. This movie very much in the same genre. And what you can see from Tunnel Vision is not only very influential on Saturday Night Live, but Tunnel Vision also very influential on SCTV. And I would say it's almost in style and structure closer to SCTV.
Yeah, I would actually say it's the other way around. I would say
SCTV influenced Tunnel Vision?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really odd. Like, so the film came out in 76, which means it was starting to film around 75 probably. And by that time, 75 is when Saturday Night Live premiered, you know. So I think it was almost, I think it's, to my theory on this at least, we couldn't find anything more about it, is that this film was being put together and they're like, we need to find like the hot new comedy up and coming stars to be in it. And that's how you get, I mean, it's crazy. You get Chevy Chase.
Nothing is more embarrassing than a nervous breakdown, especially if it's you. Hi, I'm Chevy Chase.
You get your Al Franken, Tom Davis, but then you get the guys from the Firesign Theater, Phil Proctor. You get Laraine Newman there from Saturday Night Live, and then SCTV people like Joe Flaherty and John Candy, which is odd.
Well, not really that odd, because a lot of these people were coming from Second City. So
right.
those are big, like, you know, Second City, Chicago, and Betty Thomas also, who. Yeah, she came from Second City.
She's nude. She's nude.
Yeah, and Laraine Newman.
Yeah.
I think she came from the Groundlings. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, you know, again, I think, you know, as far as your creme de la creme of comedy, you know, those were like the main comedy theaters where you would, you know, get the talent. And crazy to see a young Joe Flaherty in there.
Well, how do you feel in those get-ups?
Oh, absolutely awful.
I never felt more embarrassed in all my life. Hey, that's terrific. You ready to play the game? Yeah. Take your position right now.
Yeah, that was weird. And then a young Al Franken.
Al Franken without a shirt and ripped washboard abs. You get that. But just a little Al Franken trivia. He in high school he was a wrestler.
I just can't seem to get to first base. I've tried mouthwash and deodorant, but nothing seems to work.
Well, don't worry about your breath in your armpits, Al. It's your personality that stinks.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think I knew that. Well, I think I would be willing to bet that they got this movie made because of the success of the Groove Tube, and they were able to go, hey, let's do something like that, but with a little bit more money and with bigger stars.
Yeah, because you also have Howard Hessman, who at the time was on WKRP in Cincinnati, but he started sketch comedy. I forgot the name of his sketch comedy group.
I think the Committee? Was it the Committee? Yeah, I think that was the one.
Yeah. So that was one, and then Phil Proctor, again, Firesign Theater people,
Right.
which was, first they were Proctor and Bergman, and then they became the Firesign Theater. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Canadians, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been a big fan of theirs.
But I think the biggest star in there, here, I'm trying to find it. It was the guy who played Henry or Frank Burns in MASH.
Yeah, he was the biggest star. Yeah.
What was his name? I'm just trying to look here.
Is it Roger Bowen?
Yeah, Roger Bowen. He played Frank Burns in the screen version of MASH, and
yes.
So he was in it. He was playing Henry Kissinger.
But here's the interesting thing. Oh wow! So I didn't know about this about him.
Yeah.
But Bowen, he was in the Compass Players, which evolved into Second City. But in the Compass Players are the guys that had that was Nichols and May, right? Weren't they? They were in part of them, I think.
Oh really? So that came out of Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so that's probably his connection to that. But
yeah, that was Mike Nichols, Shelley Berman, Del Close. All those people were in Compass Players.
Oh, that's really cool. But at the time of this came out, and he was the biggest actor in the movie. Where modern day we have to look up who he was. Mm-hmm. But it had an interesting sort of structure. So the structure of the movie was it was like a Senate committee meeting of kind of about the new network Tunnel Vision.
Nowhere have you acknowledged the facts which point to how your free television, as you call it, have corrupted this country's youth, disrupted social order, and left the other four networks with practically no viewers at all.
And they're just trying to determine if it was like the network was too offensive. So for the committee, they had to air shows on the network.
Yeah, I mean that kind of kept me interested more than just kind of a anthology type thing. It was it was interesting, and they were smart enough to make the cutaways when they had to go back to the committee. They would make those really short. It was like literally like a sentence or two.
Yeah, it just had a much better pacing than Groove Tube to it, and and again at the time, so Saturday Night Live came out in '75. They probably filmed this in '75, and suddenly Chevy Chase became the big breakout star. So like I think when it got re-released on VHS, they said that Chevy Chase was the star of the movie.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
and he's so not.
Yeah, no, he's not. The one thing, I guess, if we want to talk about some of the sketches that are in there. Or
yeah, sure.
How do you want to
jump right in?
Okay. Well, the one. I'll just read a couple of them here. Like we heard there, it was the Pregnant Man was a film trailer about a guy who was on the run.
Yeah, but it was like a parody of the Bionic Man, the Pregnant Man.
Yeah.
Followed by Knocked Up and On the Run, the Pregnant Man.
And
then they had like a Ramon and Sonia, which was like a sitcom.
Oh, just in general, the whole movie not very PC in 2018 terms. Oh, but anyways, before we go into it, the movie was directed by Neil Israel, who he went on to do Police Academy. Not only Police Academy, but direct Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, did a lot of to be kind, stuff I didn't find, never found that funny.
Oh, you never found The Wonder Years funny?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He went on to do a lot of like Mary Kay and Ashley TV show. He did like a lot of like weird teen comedy shows.
If you look at his filmography, you could see a arc of when it started to go shitty.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he did The Wonder Years in '81, and then he's doing a few. Oh, the Brady Bunch. You're telling me the Brady Bunch in the White House is shitty?
Yeah, this is that kind of stuff.
You're telling me Love Boat: The Next Generation is shitty?
Yeah.
Oh, he did. National Lampoon's Thanksgiving Family Reunion. What was that?
Yeah, A dog with a blog. How about that one, dude?
Oh, it's a Judge Reinhold movie.
Yeah. He did. Actually, I was making a joke about I must have just remembered it, but yeah, he did the Adventures of Mary Kate and Ashley, the Case of the Mystery Cruise.
Yeah, but I think what they're parodying. Again, not very PC in 2018 terms, but again, what they're parodying is kind of the crappy television that was put out there in the day, like Ramon and Sonia.
Then catch the scintillating wit and warmth of Ramon and Sonia.
Mafongo Mats.
It's rib-tickling humor at its best.
I think it was like in the 70s where there was like the hot ticket was like after Norman Lear kind of broke through. The hot ticket was to have like ethnic families, but they're not portrayed in the same way as 2018. They're almost portrayed as on these 70s TV shows as stereotypes. And so what they're parodying in Ramon and Sonia was this gypsy couple.
Yeah, and then this one's got, as we talked about in the Groove Tube episode, it's just like when you make your comedy about on pop culture and in particular commercials, and like in Tunnel Vision there's a running gag where they make a joke about a commercial. It's basically about I kind of remember the commercial a little bit. It was about substituting French food or something, but that becomes part of the movie, this crazed French chef.
We're blindfolding Pierre Scouchet, winner of the finest cooking awards of France, home of the highest culinary culture of all time, to see if he can taste the difference between margarine and Mrs. Pittman's dinner bars. So much like margarine, you'll hardly notice you're eating retextured herring substitute. Mrs. Pittman's dinner bars.
There is no difference!
There is no difference.
Yeah, I thought that sort of thing was sort of a nod to Monty Python, where Monty Python would have a character running through all the there'd be different sketches, but you would have the same character run through several sketches.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, like this is a little bit more layered than the Groove Tube. I'll give you that.
But are you saying though we needed a Groove Tube to have a Tunnel Vision?
I think maybe that is
so Groove Tube was the comedy martyr that enabled the road and the doors to open for Tunnel Vision.
Yeah, and then we needed a Tunnel Vision for Kentucky Fried Movie.
Exactly. So another funny premise is the movie, which was filmed in 1976, is set in the distant future of 1985.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. Yeah.
And a note that I have for both Groove Tube and Tunnel Vision was great fonts.
The little thing where the station ID where the woman opens her mouth and the eyeball comes out is actually pretty catching eye to it is pretty eye popping. It does. It makes you look at the screen every time it happens.
Yeah, again, it's like simple. And I think it's like also around that same era as like also near distant future movies like Rollerball.
Oh man, Rollerball, yeah.
Yeah, the original.
Set in Houston. Yeah.
Jonathan.
Yeah. James Caan.
Yeah, great movie. But I think it's like, maybe this was slightly, kind of a dystopian future.
Yeah,
where TV is put on trial.
Much like the movie Americathon, which I know Neil Israel had something to do with. I believe he was co-writer or director of that one, and that was set in the year of 1998. It came out in 1978. Yeah, have you seen that one?
I haven't, but I did look it up on it. Who stars in that one?
John Ritter's in it. He stars as the president.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. Well, that one's got some interesting. Here's what's going to happen in 20 years from now, and like a lot of the stuff that's in Americathon, that stuff kind of came true. Like where they predicted that Nike would be this huge corporation. True. Mm-hmm. and predicted that China would start to become less communist.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
But, again, I think, a lot of this humor comes from and it's same with like Saturday Night Live is that post Watergate generation where you're just so skeptical of, government and all that. And also, was it the opening of Groove Tube, or this movie showed like the row of presidents, and the president was like they showed President George Wallace?
Yeah, I don't think it was this one, was it?
Or was it Groove Tube?
So. I don't even remember. It might have been in Groove Tube. Groove Tube did have kind of a interesting bit where they kind of took Watergate committee hearings and put them to music, which is actually kind of cool.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, don't you remember that part?
I think maybe that might have been the part I've tuned out.
Maybe.
Was it the actual hearings?
Yeah, it was actual hearings, but they put it to...
Oh, that sounds like something
jazz.
A filmmaker named Scott Kalanick might have done.
Well, it was like a lot more like Emile D'Antonio, something along those lines.
Yeah, okay.
70s.
Yeah.
Kinda.
So very, very anti-authority, especially with like the committee hearings, kind of theme to this whole movie. And here's an interesting trivia fact. Originally, Michael McKean, most recently seen in Better Call Saul, earlier seen Laverne and Shirley, had a role in the film. He was to portray a Dick Clark type host who wore blackface, but the sketch was cut.
Oh,
again, yeah. I mean, if you want to tune into and watch Tunnel Vision, just keep in mind not very politically correct.
It's Morning Lesson. Spanish for Americans 103. A university extension course for credit with Dr. Emmanuel Labor.
Buenos días, señores y señoritas. Esta mañana de cómo es el automóvil. The automobile. El automóvil. Bueno. Y si nos tardes de macos, Chevy. Chevrolet. Chevy. Chevrolet.
No, it's you gotta remember it is from back in the day.
Yeah, and again, another similarity. Again, it's always like commercials for the evil corporations. This one had a commercial for a company called Axon, which caused an environmental disaster. Ironically, in real life, 13 years later, Exxon had the exact same environmental disaster.
Yeah.
So kind of what's it say when you prophesize the future? What
prophesizing?
I don't know.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, foreshadowing.
Foreboding.
Yeah, something along that lines. So, yeah. Also, another movie debut of announcer Dick Tuffield, who was the voice of the robot on the TV series Lost in Space.
Oh wow! Okay, cool, interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, the movie kind of it ends with any other thoughts on Tunnel Vision before we hit the home stretch on it? So there wasn't really much to read about it,
No, I mean, it's because a lot of it, like we were saying, a lot of the skits are thankfully really quick, and the pacing is a lot faster than Groove Tube, where you don't have a 20-minute long sketch about unfunny drug dealers.
With Richard Belzer.
Yeah, but I would have liked to have seen more of in one of the. They would just kind of show in Tunnel Vision some of these brief clips of upcoming TV shows on the Tunnel Vision network, and I would have liked to have seen more of Get Head.
What was that? Oh yeah, that was John Candy was the head.
Yeah, it was the one with John Candy, and he's a cop, and then his partner is just a disembodied head that he carries around in a cardboard box.
They said he had one of the best minds around, that he had a great head on his shoulders. His future looked bright until one day during the war, a mine exploded. Thanks to modern medicine, the doctor saved Bill's only remaining body part, his head. Since coming home, Bill's put his head to good use. Together with his trusted assistant Cooper, Bill has become an undercover investigator, the best crime-fighting team in the world. That is why, if there is trouble, people get head.
And I would like to see like the whole thing in there is like literally like a minute.
Yeah, that's all you see of John Candy in the movie.
Yeah, that's it.
I did get a big kick out of seeing young Joe Flaherty. It was a game show where they had to like fart in 15 seconds.
Okay, now you have 15 seconds to cut one before your opponent does. To help, we're going to give each of you a cup of Imperial coffee. Good to the last drop. All right, now you have 15 seconds. And audience, no coaching. Be very, very quiet because our ITC lie detector will pick up any sounds which do not emanate directly from the anus. All right, now, 15 seconds from now, on your mark, get set. This is for $10,000. Go!
Yeah.
To win. But Joe Flaherty looks like so young in that movie.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Yep.
Yeah, and the Candid Camera Show, Secret Camera, presented by the CIA. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. I mean, I think this is a little sharper than the Groove Tube actually, but then I think these people had making Tunnel Vision. They had the Groove Tube to look back at and go, okay, we can do that one step more.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's also at the same time like Saturday Night Live is emerging, and you have Second City and to play off of, and also around was like the National Lampoon Radio Hour, which I believe Joe Flaherty was part of the National Lampoon Radio Hour, and the first episode of SCTV, that was in 1976, so they were probably in production in 1975. So yeah, I think there was just like more of a scene where people could develop their comedy.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So the closing credits of the film had the following disclaimer: this film is intended as a comic parody of commercial television programming. The persons and scenes shown are presented only in the spirit, not a serious reflection of reality.
Okay.
We could always cut that out if that added nothing to it.
It was just, it was all right. I agree.
Oh, okay. So anyways, tell us how the movie ends. That was kind of interesting, kind of a RFK sort of ending to the movie.
Yeah, well, it is kind of like a tie-in back to the running gag of the angry French chef / sniper lone gunman type thing. So I mean, it was as we mentioned before, kind of a tight wraparound and multi-layered. It had a number of things different plot layers going on as opposed to your Groove Tube.
Yeah, so the guy gets assassinated, and it kind of like the camera shot is reflective of RFK being assassinated, and they even make there was even a show mentioned on Tunnel Vision, like the Sirhan show, I think.
Mr. Broder, how do you feel now that the Senate committee has voted in favor of Tunnel Vision?
Relieved, vindicated, terrific.
Broder, sir, what are your plans for the future of Tunnel Vision?
Well, I hope we can continue to make television that people will watch.
Mr. Broder, well, how do you choose these shows?
Well, if I'm watching it, my ass begins squirming, I know I've got a winner. No, actually, there's a whole committee of people.
So, and it just sort of ends with a freeze frame.
Yeah. So, so it was a nice little 70s skeptical throwback there.
Yeah, and again, this was the generation coming out of the 60s, kind of post-60s. Watergate was just a few years before, so it's just kind of very skeptical of authority.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
And with that, any other takeaways on Tunnel Vision and its place in history and how it influenced Saturday Night Live?
No, I enjoy. Let me put this together. Let me wrap my head around this. No, I enjoyed it. You can definitely see the comic road leading from Tunnel Vision to Saturday Night Live. Well, with the crossover of all the people. And I think the quick pacing is kind of what's led to Saturday Night Live, and it definitely there's some kind of linkage to SCTV as well.
Yeah, definitely a much funnier movie. you definitely get some laughs out of watching it. Not everything is completely dated like GrooveTube, and it's kind of interesting to see, how the comedy, in this movie evolved into Saturday Night Live.
Yep.
And
I fully agree.
And with that, it's time to plug away. Scott, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Harmon is my co-host on our other podcast, This is the President, where we address some of the political issues of the day and play some humorous tapes from presidents, both current and in the past. And recently, we have uncovered a treasure trove of some Reagan tapes, so we'll be delving into those in the next few episodes. So if you're a fan of President Reagan, be sure to stop on by.
Yes, and for me, on November 17th at the People's Improv Theater in New York City, I'll be part of SoloCom, a festival of solo shows, where I'll be doing my new show, Harmon Leon's American Horror Story. So it's at 5 p.m., part of SoloCom, so pop on down. And be sure to check us out on iTunes, subscribe, comment, and you can see all our podcasts on our website, wordsoverchair.com. And until next time, in our next episode, we will continue the lineage to Saturday Night Live, what brought Saturday Night Live onto the air, the type of humor that spawned it. We'll be covering the history of Kentucky Fried Movie, which was directed by John Lannis and written by the Zucker brothers.
Yeah, of Airplane fame.
Exactly. And Police Naked Gun.
Naked Gun, yes, of course.
Co-starred by Buddy.
O.J. Simpson.
There you go. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You're stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Good thing about doing comedy in Russia, you have captured audience.
You're stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Comedy History 101.